Introduction. Rest in peace. Death? Opening the doors of perception. It's hardly surprising that one of the most iconic and best-selling musician biographies of all time, and the first of a veritable Spanish caravan, written about the Doors frontman Jim Morrison, was titled "No One Here Gets Out Alive." The lyric is a line from 5 to 1. A perennial fan favorite, penned by Morrison but credited officially to the Doors. And it is stuck in my mind, as it has in countless others over more than half a century since its 1968 release, like a splinter, to reference the movie The Matrix, that also figures prominently in this book. When I was living in Paris in the early 1990s, I became obsessed with Morrison, and not just his music, but his often macabre poetry as well. This was shortly after the release of Oliver Stone's uber-provocative rock biopic that put to shame all other rock biopics, The Doors. As a birthday present, my girlfriend gave me a bilingual copy of The Lords and the New Creatures, Morrison's first volume of poetry, replete with dark meditations on sex, celebrity, drugs, and, of course, death. While riding the metro, sitting on the steps of Montmartre, and sipping espresso at cafes, I found myself reading it alternately in English and the French translation to capture more and more nuances of Morrison's cryptic, multi-layered thought. Jim had died in Paris and was buried in the city's famously lovely necropolis, Père Lachaise Cemetery. His grave, which once featured a stone bust with his big hippie hair made by a Croatian sculptor and stolen in 1988, was, and still is, a literal shrine to many tourists, fans, and hipster locals making rock and roll pilgrimages from near and far. Practically as controversial in death as in life, ever since his untimely demise in 1971 that rocked the rock world, Morrison has lingered in a sort of public half-life. Simultaneously, he has been an inspiration for counterculture and music lovers, a nuisance for Parisians fed up with the incessant drinking, smoking, and carousing that have turned his grave into an eternal party, and a would-be prodigal son to his home country, where a Florida politician bizarrely and unsuccessfully sought to have Jim's final resting place relocated to his birthplace, the Space Coast. My girlfriend, call her Kate, and I regularly visited Morrison's final resting place and often partook in the festivities, which I must admit were exemplary displays of Dionysian behavior, if inevitably a regretted hangover source. Filled with more cemeteries, church crypts, and bone-lined catacombs than you could shake a Gauloise at, Paris invited an ongoing meditation on the afterlife. Like Harry Potter's Myrtle without the moaning, I regularly found myself contemplating the seeming inevitability of death. And then one overcast Parisian winter afternoon half a decade later, when I was back in town visiting a new girlfriend, while standing in front of Morrison's grave strewn with flowers and cigarette butts yet again as if no time had elapsed and nothing had changed, the doors of my perception, hat-tipped to William Blake and Aldous Huxley, suddenly burst wide open when a still, small voice inside me asked this simply disarming question. Does no one here get out alive? Might there be an alternative to death? That splinter of a question would ever after irritate my gray matter with a curious itch I couldn't scratch. Known as the Lizard King, a double-edged epithet if ever there was one, Morrison was infamous for his fascination with all things shamanic and mystical, an interest that undoubtedly informed his own obsession with mortality. Not long after my last visit to Paris, suffering from a mysterious and debilitating autoimmune illness with elements of chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, I embarked on my own healing journey through the valley of the shadow of death. I've written extensively about this shamanic phase of mine in my second book on the regenetics method, Potentiate Your DNA. Regenetics is a powerful sound healing technique that ultimately restored my health that I developed with my life partner, Lee. I'll have a great deal more to say about this work in relation to the critically important subject of energy preservation and cultivation in a later chapter. During this transformational period, as I sought to heal my wounded body, mind, and spirit, I began extensively studying shamanism, mysticism, alchemy, physics, epigenetics, and many other disciplines. This information slowly but surely wove itself together into a very different conceptual fabric from the comparatively more normie one to which I was accustomed. Out of this novel inner tapestry emerged my initial book on regenetics, Conscious Healing, in which I first examined the fringe notion that there might just be an alternative to death and dying. In my most recent book, The World, Cult, and You, Your Place in It and Your Way Out of It, in which regenetics played a comparatively minor role, my questioning of death's unavoidability went even deeper. This book you're reading is a continuation of that examination, with a new and vastly expanded emphasis on shamanic and alchemical concepts and processes that have everything to do with the most straightforward, and maybe only, way of getting out of here alive. I'll clarify exactly what I mean by alive in due course. Trust me, it's pretty cool, even if it may not be exactly what you expect. For the time being, let me assure you that the territory I'll cover offers an absolutely fascinating vista into the undiscovered country of the beyond. Long before discussing the ultimate and optional hero's journey into the great unknown, however, the material I'll be sharing through much of this book is designed to improve your life today in a myriad of subtle and not so subtle ways, even as your consciousness is prepped for much greater possibilities of worldly transcendence. What is this place? Before we go further into a discussion of getting out of here, let's take a moment to define what is meant by here. What is the nature of this confusing way station between birth and, usually, death, accompanied by obliteration of identity we call home? Planet, plane, simulation, hallucination, hell, heaven on earth. The hypotheses as to this realm's true character are as many as there are bored conspiracy theorists tapping away on crusty laptops in their parents' basements. But what if the childishly simple answer to our conundrum is given away in this aphorism popularized in Row, Row, Row Your Boat? Life is but a dream. In the world of adult literature, perhaps Edgar Allan Poe phrased it best. All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. Poe's haunting poem has long acted like yet another splinter aggravating my mind, challenging my accepted notions of this matrix-like reality. Are we truly awake while experiencing the tangible world around us? Or are we adrift in a dream flux of illusions, our senses hoodwinking us at every turn? The boundary between dreams and reality gets muddy indeed when we consider the nature of our perceptions. Our senses, those windows to the world, are far from perfect instruments that are extremely susceptible to manipulation and misinterpretation. What we perceive as unquestionably solid and real could be nothing more than smoke and mirrors, projections of our own psyches. The very act of doubting our reality indicates a flicker of suspicion, a seed of uncertainty germinating in our subconscious. Perhaps this nagging sense of unease, this wondering if something isn't altogether as it should be, is a clue, a whisper from the wellspring of our being that there's more to this existence than meets the eye. Imagine for a moment that our waking life is truly but a dream, a meticulously crafted simulation of sorts, designed to test the limits of our perception and self-awareness. What if the world we inhabit, with all its confounding complexities and contradictions, is nothing more than an elaborate stage set, a grand illusion orchestrated by a poorly understood force? If this were true, how could we possibly know for certain? What signs or signals might betray the actual nature of our world and our place in it? The answer, perhaps, lies in the anomalies, the glitches in the matrix, those bizarre instances when the veil of perception momentarily slips and we catch a glimpse of the machinery behind reality's curtain. A sudden sense of déjà vu, a feeling of being secretly observed, a recurring dream that seems eerily factual. What if these aren't the misfirings of our own warped brains, random occurrences with no deeper meaning? What if they're actually subtle hints, whispers from the multiverse urging us to question our reality? The trope of reality as an illusion definitely isn't a modern development. Philosophers and writers throughout history have endeavored to crack this tough nut, relentlessly probing the nature of existence and the limits of human perception. Plato's allegory of the cave, for example, compares us to prisoners relegated to an abyss, mistaking shadows on the wall for the real thing. Similarly, René Descartes' famous dictum, "I think, therefore I am," highlights the fundamental problem of certainty. If our senses can so easily deceive us, how can we be confident in our understanding of anything, even our own physical existence? Literature, too, is replete with stories of characters who question their sanity, their grasp on reality maddeningly unraveling as they delve deeper into the mysteries of their own tormented minds. From Poe's spooky tales to the psychological thrillers of modern fiction, the theme of dream versus reality continues to rivet and disturb. If we're indeed, like Neo in The Matrix, living in a dream world, the inevitable questions then become, can we wake up? If so, how do we wake up? What exactly awaits us if and when we do wake up? The possibility of waking up from, or even in, the dream offers a glimmer of hope, a sense that there's more to existence than this mundane rat race. It suggests that we're not just NPCs, non-player characters in a pre-programmed reality, but that instead, we're capable of becoming truly conscious players with the power to shape our own destinies. Out through the in door. Shamanism and inner alchemy offer some of the most empowering strategies for free thinkers and other free spirits interested in waking up enough to craft their own storyline and direct their own fate. Not surprisingly, both disciplines firmly agree with what I've been saying in my own related work for some time now. The only way out is in. To reverse the title of another iconic rock masterpiece, this one by Led Zeppelin of Stairway to Heaven fame, we can say, without reservation, that to exit the matrix of this dreamscape, we must go out through the in door. Energetically speaking, this statement is meant to be taken almost literally. To transcend this place, whatever, wherever, and whenever it is, we must first travel inward through the wrinkles and folds of our own conscious, subconscious, and unconscious minds. In doing so, while utilizing specific techniques I'll outline, it's possible to amass enough energy or personal power to fly outward beyond the confines of this reality construct with our consciousness intact. In other words, though there are no guarantees in life or death, we at least have a shot, a fool's chance maybe, but a shot, nevertheless, at getting out of here alive. I get that some readers of a skeptical or cynical bent will find the notion of cheating death and becoming immortal nothing but fool's gold. To whom I say, if you're going to be a fool, you'd better do it right. Being a fool the right way means not being the kind of fool who uncritically accepts so-called real-world truths that attempt to explain away the inexplicable, while unthinkingly denying huge swaths of data that contradict those very truths. The wrong type of fool focuses only on the profound while sweeping the absurd under the rug. The right kind, however, realizes that profound and absurd don't exist in isolation, but as a meaningful paradox at the center of human experience, the absurdly profound. Shedding light on a similar subject, F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function." For anyone desiring to go beyond this world's illusory limits, the most important thing is to avoid accepting anything anyone, including yours truly, asserts as fact, without personally testing it with an open mind and heart. I encourage you to, at least as an experiment, stop listening to the mouthpieces of the world and see for yourself whether my words have any substance. That means getting in touch with your inner shaman and committing to alchemically transforming the lead of your current diminished reality into the gold of your total expansive self. Even if, heaven forbid, you fail in your attempt to blow this popsicle stand while giving a single finger salute to the Grim Reaper, the lifestyle recommendations, thought experiments, and energy-enhancing protocols I share in this book can dramatically improve your quality of life during whatever time you have left. This upgrade can include rejuvenation, increased energy, a better mental outlook, more balanced emotions, greater abundance, a renewed sense of purpose, and even physical healing. So what are we waiting for? Onward and inward.